What the Heck is Happening in HR is going to talk a little bit. Well, we're not going to talk about any particular subject. We're going to cover the workplace and why we have really messed it up. For our podcast disclaimer, please visit the episode description. Thanks for coming back to What the Heck is Happening in HR, especially when you know it's going to be a bit of a rant. And I really have been looking at the workplace as a whole and trying to figure out why we have turned it into such a mess. So let me tell you what I see as to what we've done in the workplace. We've set up certain policies. Hey, you're going to get a lot of PTO, especially if you stay with us for a while. But we're going to pay it out, though. You can only use so much. We're going to schedule so much work. You can't even really use it. And because we feel guilty about that, we're going to pay it out. So it becomes a compensation program. Okay, we're not going to pay it out because we really don't have the money to pay it out. So now we're going to let you bank it. But then we're going to complain about the amount of the payout because now you've gotten increases. And now the payout that you earned it at is higher than the payout that you're getting paid at. Or the payout that you earned it at, it's actually lower. See, I even get confused even talking about the confusion that we have in these silly programs that we put together because we haven't thought about the why. Why do we have PTO? We established PTO because we had supervisors and HR being all nosy about why somebody was out sick. And so we wanted to give people the reason that they could take time off for whatever reason it might be. And they didn't have to lie when their kid had the chicken pox, instead said that they were sick. And so that's how PTO started, and companies thought they would get a better handle around it. But, we have just made convoluted programs and policies and workarounds with it all. All right, so let's do another one. Sick leave. Oh, we have sick leave. But if you don't use it, we're going to put you in so you get a bonus, or we're going to put you in so you get a gift card, or we're going to pay it out after so many years. That really fries me, quite frankly, within our many of our educational institutions and in government, where we pay out sick leave. That's not the purpose of sick leave. It's not to supplement retirement. It was to be available as income protection if you're ill. And so what did we do? We told people to come in. Yeah, come on in. You're sick. You're going to get a real sick, but that's okay. Come on in because we want you to work hard. We told people they couldn't work from home, and then we made them work at home. And we didn't even give them the tools to work from home. We're just like, okay, take your laptop. And now you're working on boxes or stacks of coffee table books or a chair that your leg goes to sleep in. We told people that we added EAP and where mental wellness is really important to us. But then don't really talk about it in the workplace. It still has a stigma. We still don't tell people if we're in therapy. We don't do that because what will they assume? What will they know? Who will they tell? Because yes, we have gossip. Because now we're like, oh, did you see what's behind? What is that behind them in Zoom? What were they drinking there? What is going on there? Were they nursing? What is happening there? We have tolerated a lack of creativity from people. And then we wonder why our marketplace doesn't have many innovations, why our market is not being creatively driven by our campaigns, why we're not creatively getting people, sourcing folks, because we haven't. We tell people to take their PTO, and then they can come back to 500 emails. We say we're short-staffed, but we don't cross-train people. Hey, remember all those emails I just mentioned? Why don't we have somebody else handle that job? Then they would maybe have a really good appreciation for it. Why don't you have someone in HR work in payroll so they can understand that you don't late in payroll and your lack of attention to detail in making sure the decimal point was right and the rounding was done properly? You understand the effect that now has in payroll because they're your internal customer. But why don't we do that? If we're short-staffed, why don't we cross-train? Why do we go, oh, we got to talk to the insurance people. It's benefits. Oh, no, we've got this big increase in our insurance, but we don't look at the data. We don't even see who signed up. We don't try to be able to understand what our workforce demographics are, what would be helpful to them right now. We don't look at where our successful new hires came from. Instead, we just keep going, doing the same stuff. Well, where did the folks who are really successful come from? Was it a certain school? Was it a certain dean? Was it a certain place they worked at before? Well, why don't we go get more of them? We tell the employees to trust us, but did we even read our own handbook? Are we even following our own handbook? Well, we don't follow all of it. It's under review where it's been for 2 years. If it's important, do it. And don't just tell them to sign it. Go over it. Take a half an hour. Take a staff meeting. If you're doing it in a meeting, if you're doing it in even a video where people need to listen to it and need to be able to reply to it or have a quiz about it or understand it or have a forum where they can ask questions about it, then it's important to you. But instead, we just say, hey, you're going to read and abide by it and understand it and just sign here. And I gave it to you your first day. You haven't done that yet. Or I haven't told you what's different in it. Just do it and it's due in. Really, but trust us. But meanwhile, we need to collect this. You're getting promotions to people who, by the way, have been doing the work because you're short-staffed. But you're giving them less of a percent because they haven't really gotten very big raises, or they skipped 2 years because you didn't have the money, or you just had a freeze on hiring. But now you're going to give the job to them because you know how expensive it is if you hire an outside person. So why aren't you respecting the internal person? They will already know who to go to, what to do, how to get it done, what the policies are. But you're not respecting them. Or you're saying, well, that one time 7 years ago, they missed that deadline. So now their baggage comes along, but yet this shiny object that you're now going to hire in another position gets the full pay, and you don't even know what baggage they're bringing with them. Maybe you're paying rehires more, so now you've trained your employees that if they leave the organization and come back, they can make more money that way. What's wrong with you? Look at your current compensation. Is it where it should be? Then look at where the rehire would be if they had stayed. And if they would be higher, be able to justify why. Did they learn a new language? Did they understand new equipment? Did they end up getting a stint over in marketing? So now they're more of a product engineer rather than an engineer who's working on one system of the product. Be able to justify the why. And when you welcome them back, be able to talk about that and communicate it to people as to why. Because then when they go, well, look at them. They left as a manager and they're coming back as a director. Whoop-de-doo, and big salary. And, well, maybe you should be able to justify the why. We haven't gone to our employees and we haven't trained them and we haven't shared our employee value proposition because maybe we haven't even defined it. See, an employee value proposition is your special sauce. It's why people want to work for you and not your competitor. It's why if you went across the street and opened up your own company, that you would go, well, I want those 3 people, and why they would come work for you. That's your employee value proposition. So a lot of times, let me give you an example, we'll say, hey, we are really great to work with. We have a lot of flexibility. And then you get there and there's no flexibility. You haven't delivered on the promise that you made while they were a candidate. And so instead, they want to leave because you didn't keep your word. See, we need to turn every employee into a recruiter. I had a boss once who said, Kelley, nothing happens till somebody sells something. Everybody needs to be a marketer because you never know who knows somebody who can buy what we're making. And I think that's true for HR. I think we need to turn every employee into a recruiter. Why wouldn't they want someone to come work there? And if not, why not? We need to understand that. We are tolerating bad behaviors. We are ignoring them. We're like, oh, well, that's just how they are. Oh, they're a strong D. Oh, let's do personality tests and then everybody will communicate better. No, they become a parlor game because we haven't improved anybody's behavior. And hey, I am certified in doing a lot of those. And I do agree in those, depending how you use them to develop the person. So instead, we ignore the behavior. Managers gossip about it. We end up saying, well, that's how they are, or I'll talk to them, and then you don't. And so that's what happens. We end up being able to do team building after hours. And there's a podcast on here about team building you should listen to. Why are we doing that? We've removed them from their family. We've told them it's important for work-life balance. If it's important to us, we do it during the day. We talk about dollars when we should be talking about development with the employee. We're going, well, I'm going to give you the average increase. It's 3%. It's 3.5%. Well, as one of my colleagues once told me, 3% of squat is still squat. Well, how are you developing the employee? What's important to them? Why do they come to work? What do they want from the place? Why don't we talk about their why and how it fits in with the organization's why? And if it doesn't, why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about what it is we can do to move the organization further together? Why do we tolerate the bad behavior in ourselves? Why do we tolerate it in the organizations? Why don't we use data to understand what we're doing right? Why don't we communicate it properly? And why don't we just take a minute and think about a reset? Because we have messed up the workplace and we are fixing it in bits and pieces. So if you will, the American dinner of Thanksgiving, right? Everyone sits down and we're having green beans. Somebody put mushrooms in the green bean casserole. They don't have mushrooms. It's not what you're supposed to have at Thanksgiving. They tried something different. So instead of telling them we didn't like it, we're just going to talk about it. And so now the whole dinner gets messed up because we've made someone feel bad at the table. That's what we're doing in the workplace. We're making people feel bad. They are confused at our expectation. They don't feel they belong. We're telling people when we hire them that it's a remote job when it really isn't. We're telling people they can live wherever they want, but we really don't want them because they've got to come to meetings every Friday or every other Wednesday. But we're not going to pay them to come into the office, even though they're coming in for something we could do on Zoom or Teams. We really have messed up the workplace, and we're tolerating this messed up workplace, and we need to make it better. We can do better. We need to leave the place better than we found it, because right now we have groups coming in of new grads who missed out on a whole lot over these past 4 years. And we have people who are trying to retire but can't in this era of inflation, who are trying to still hang on and do whatever they're supposed to be doing in this new defined work. That's very different than how it was when they came in. And then we have everybody in the middle. We have quiet hiring. We have quiet firing. And we have quiet vacationing. Oh, yeah, people taking mini breaks, especially when they're working from home, because taking PTO isn't something that is really tolerated. So we need to do better. We can do better. We just take a moment. And as Juliet Font says in her wonderful material, we need to take a moment and have some white space around what we're doing. We need to plan for what kind of workplace we want. We need to be intentional about what kind of leader we're going to be, what kind of employee we're going to be, what kind of colleague we're going to be. We need to fix this because it's not getting any better. We're coming up on our 5th year, and it's going to be crap if we don't do something about it. What I do want you to do is to subscribe. So every Monday, you can hear what the heck is happening in HR. Thanks for joining us.